Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. Thanks for tuning in. Glad you're here today. We are talking about the dangers of being too clean. That's especially important during COVID when many of us are tempted to bleach everything in sight. But believe it or not, sterilizing our environment can do more harm than good. My guest today is Dr. Jack Gilbert, author of the book, Dirt is Good, The Advantage of Germs for Your Child's Developing Immune System. So today's show is particularly relevant for those raising children. Dr. Gilbert, thanks for being here. We appreciate your time. Great to see you.
Yeah, you too, Laurie, and wonderful to be here.
So as one of our top scientific researchers, you study microbes and are a part of the pediatrics department at the University of California, San Diego. So this idea of the microbiome is relatively new to most people, and we usually talk about the gut microbiome, but you focus on surface microbiomes, indoors and outside. Can you tell us what's in these microbiomes that are invisible to the naked eye?
Well, the wonderful thing about microbes is they've been here for a very long period of time, and they've adapted to every environment on Earth. And in the last 100 years, as we've moved indoors and are now living in our sealed little homes, the microbes that inhabit our bodies have just taken up residence in our homes. So the bacteria that live on your skin, in your mouth, in your gut, find their way into the homes that we live in. As we're all shedding microbes all the time, around 36 million bacterial cells every hour leave your body. And they take up residence on the surfaces, in the carpets, in the air, and play an active role in our health.
Well, it's very obvious you are passionate about these microbiomes and these microbes, and you are not the only one. We have a video of a pre-COVID conference where you and your colleagues recorded a song to the tune of Mamma Mia, but you changed the lyrics a little bit to microbes, microbes, they are everywhere, and so on. Was that fun?
Anyway, that's us geeking out, as it were, and having a lot of fun with our subject, yes.
Nerd alert. So while you have fun with the idea of microbes in our environment, there are actually some very serious, very harmful consequences to mismanaging the microbiome. And conversely, a great deal of healing can occur when we take control of it. For example, you learned how different microbes in the environment can either harm or help children with autism. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we now understand that the environment in which a child grows up shapes their immune system, especially in the first 6 weeks to 6 months of life. And so when a child is being, investigating the environment, putting things in their mouth, playing with a pet dog, those exposures, those experiences that the children are getting shape how their immune system develops. And that can shape how our brains develop. And so for children with autism or children with allergic diseases such as asthma or eczema or food allergies, those early life exposures can be fundamental in helping them to live a healthy life.
Well, as you say in your book, Dirt is Good, that the microbiome is important to everyone all the time. But like you just said, the developmental years, the childhood years are particularly important. So parents often think they're doing the right thing by sanitizing their child's environment with antibacterial products and so forth. But can't that also be harmful?
Yeah, so think of your immune system like a student that's constantly learning how the environment around it is functioning, right? So if a child's immune system is not getting the education it needs, it can actually overreact to modern stimuli such as foods or things in the environment that we normally wouldn't have a reaction to. And so that early life training of the immune system, sensing the bacteria and the viruses in dirt or the microbes in the hair of a dog, play an active role in helping the child's immune system to learn how to cope with the environment in which it finds itself. And that will stop things like allergic disease such as asthma and food allergy, and maybe even help the development of the brain and the endocrine system to allow the body to live a healthy, productive life without chronic diseases.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about how a germ-laden environment has been proven to help a child's immune system? What did you learn, for example, about kids who grow up with animals? You touched on it just a moment ago.
Yeah, so when we look at asthma, which is a major disease, it affects approximately 9 to 10% of the US population. It's huge, right? Children that grow up living with a dog, physically interacting with a dog, can have a 13% reduction in the likelihood of developing asthma overall. So that's fundamental. A dog living and breathing and interacting with a dog early in life can play a role. Children that grow up on a farm, interacting with farm animals, have a 50% reduction in the likelihood of developing asthma, which is huge. And we looked at children that grow up on farms, such as the Amish children that grow up in Indiana, on living and working and breathing on the farm. And their likelihood of developing asthma is only 2 or 3%, so significantly below the US average. And in fact, we can use our information about the exposures those children get to try and understand how to train children's immune systems that grow up in inner cities, in urban environments where their immune systems are not being trained appropriately, as you might expect.
Can you talk about the importance of a child's gut microbiome, particularly as it pertains to antibiotics? We know so many pediatricians prescribe them to kids over and over again. I remember when my little girl was a toddler, she had so many ear infections. She would be prescribed antibiotics sometimes 4, 5, 6 times a year.
Yeah, and a lot of that, the reason that the doctor will prescribe antibiotics is because the patient wants them. They want a solution, right? We all want our children to get better. Just give them something, and hopefully that everything will be fine. And now we're finding out that what we thought of as well, it can't do any harm. An antibiotic, just give it to the child. It won't do any harm. It might help, but it won't do any harm. We're finding out it now does harm the child's body, the child's development, because it kills off bacteria in the body, and those bacteria in the body actually play a fundamental role in shaping the immune system, but also in producing things like GABA-aminobutyric acid, a chemical which actually helps to stimulate our brains and helps to reduce anxiety and depression. So the far-reaching consequences of taking an antibiotic in our body, while vitally important if you have an infection that requires an antibiotic, can be life-saving. If you don't have that infection, such as a virus infection, then you shouldn't take it, because it can have leading consequences and lead to chronic infections and diseases, which we are only just starting to understand how to cope with.
So what should parents do if their pediatrician recommends antibiotics for their child often?
I would have an honest discussion with them. Most pediatricians are reacting to the fact that a parent wants a solution. And if a parent says, well, look, I really want to know if this antibiotic is essential. Will it actually be important that my child takes this antibiotic? Will there be negative consequences if they don't? And if you present yourself up front as informed, then the doctor will understand that they can have an active conversation with you about the necessity of that antibiotic. So a lot of it is saying, I'm not here just to find a solution. I want to actively engage in my child's health to find a way forward that will be best for them.
That's great information for parents. Well, we're going to take a quick break and be right back with Dr. Jack Gilbert. The book is called Dirt is Good. Stay tuned.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Welcome back to Healthy Living. We're continuing our discussion with Dr. Jack Gilbert, author of the book, Dirt is Good. Dr. Gilbert, we are coming up on 1 year that people have been ultra sanitizing their environments, even more than ever before because, of course, of COVID-19. How do you feel about zealously bleaching hard surfaces? For example, we saw New York City shut down the subways for hours every day to disinfect them. Is this a good use of time and money?
To be perfectly honest, I don't think it is. I study these environments effectively, and it looks a bit to me like cleaning theatre. To make people feel more comfortable about using those environments, we bleach the surfaces. This virus is an airborne virus. So if there is somebody in the subway with the infection and you're in the subway with them, if you're not both wearing masks, then you're going to get infected. Bleaching the surfaces will have very, very little impact upon the spread of the disease. So yeah, it's a fundamental lack of understanding of how the virus spread. And to be honest, at the beginning, we all were a bit taken aback about what this virus did and how it behaved. So it's understandable that some people may have responded in that way.
Can you elaborate a little bit about what that process actually is like? I'm talking about the process of bleaching hard surfaces.
Yeah, so we bleach hard surfaces in order to kill off all microbes on that environment, right? Anybody that's prepared raw chicken in their kitchen will know the importance of making sure the surfaces that it came into contact with the raw chicken are cleaned, are sterilized, right? And those are sensible precautions. We all want to avoid causing our children foodborne infections or ourselves. We need to have safety, common sense procedures in place. The issue is, though, if we're trying to sterilize an environment in order to get rid of an airborne virus, is that once the virus has landed on that surface, it's unlikely to re-aerosolize into the environment. And the likelihood that you will touch that surface that has a small amount of the virus and then touch your face and infect yourself is quite small for this particular virus. So in that instance, it doesn't make a lot of sense to rapidly and consistently sterilize everything. Also, it's very impossible to do. I mentioned earlier that we're all releasing 36 million cells of bacteria into our environment every hour. And it's almost 10 times that for virus particles. So imagine if you sterilize a surface, in a few minutes after sterilization, the microbes from our body are recolonizing that surface. And the futility is that it's easy to stop yourself being infected by the virus just by wearing a mask and staying socially distant from people and staying isolated as much as possible. So you don't need to waste so much money on bleaching products. And the negative consequences of bleaching the environment, especially if you have very young children in the environment, could actually lead to chronic consequences, which may be worse.
Well, you did talk about how your emphasis in your career is on children. Are you concerned particularly about children and kids during this pandemic that are not being exposed to helpful microbes because so much of their environment is sanitized?
I am, but to be perfectly honest, it's very simple there's a simple solution to allow our children to survive the pandemic without chronic consequences. And that is to maybe allow them to physically interact with a dog or a pet on a regular basis, even as an infant. as long as the pet isn't dangerous, then the child should be able to play with them. Let the dog lick your kid's face. Get a window box if you don't have a backyard. So that the child can get involved in playing around with dirt and with plants. Allow the child outside, which in an urban environment is difficult, and I understand that. But in suburban and rural environments, which predominate a lot of America, there is a huge opportunity for that. And those simple solutions will expose your child to the right kind of microbial environments. And then if you happen to feel the need to sterilize your home regularly, those solutions should overcome that chronic potential.
So can you talk about what we should be doing as far as cleaning? Bleach, maybe not so much, but we hear over and over again that we should be washing our hands. Do you advocate that? And if so, is soap and water okay, or should we be using the antibacterial soaps?
We should definitely wash our hands, and warm water and soap is perfect. There's no need for antibacterial soaps because the virus for the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19 is a virus, not a bacteria. And many of those solutions in those antibacterial soaps don't kill viruses, so it's kind of pointless. But yeah, I wash my hands regularly. Bear in mind, think of your skin on your hand like Manhattan, right? It's a deep, rich forest that goes all the way down, and the microbes are living throughout all of those skyscrapers. And all you're doing when you're washing is cleaning off the bacteria off the top of the skyscrapers. And then the bacteria that live in the bottom of the city crawl back up to the top of the skyscrapers and repopulate your the microbes on your skin. So all you're doing is temporarily removing a microbial film from your hands. And most of that microbial film is temporarily from the things you've just been interacting with. So it's helpful, yes, to wash your hands regularly, not so regularly you damage your skin, but regularly enough. Use common sense when thinking about when it's necessary. And when my son comes back from school, he disposes of his mask and he goes and washes his hands for 2 times happy birthday. And it's an effective mechanism for reducing infection.
2 times happy birthday. That's about 20 seconds we should be lathering up, right?
Absolutely, exactly.
Okay, this is fantastic advice, especially for parents. We're going to take another quick break and be right back with Dr. Jack Gilbert. The book is called Dirt is Good.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
CBN News, no filter, 24/7 news. Through the lens of faith, from natural disasters to breaking news in the Holy Land. We have access to stars in entertainment and to top newsmakers. We are fighting for your freedoms. CBN News, because truth matters. Become a CBN News member today.
Welcome back to Healthy Living. We're talking with Dr. Jack Gilbert, author of the book Dirt is Good. Dr. Gilbert, how can overzealously disinfecting surfaces lead to these so-called superbugs? Do strong cleansers clean everything, or are some microbes resistant to these cleansers?
Yeah, what we're finding is in hospitals and even our homes, the cleaning products we commonly use to eradicate 99.999% of microbes often leave behind a few. And over time, over the last 100 years or so of us doing this excessive cleaning regimen, we've actually selected for bugs that can form almost a seed, like a hard seed that a plant will produce that enables them to survive these periods of cleansing. Now, there are ways of getting around that, but they can become quite extreme and very expensive. So what we're finding is that microbes have adapted to our cleaning mechanisms and are developing strategies to allow themselves to survive and thrive. And some of those are some of the most harmful bugs that we know.
So is it better not to clean so intently, so vigorously with these antibacterial cleansers?
In our homes, it's virtually unnecessary, right? Even if you are preparing raw chicken, you literally can just clean with hot soapy water, and that will be enough to eradicate most of the pathogens which we'd find. In hospitals, we're finding that, yeah, we may actually be developing more antibiotic-resistant microbes in the building that could infect patients who are at risk of those kinds of infections just by our cleaning processes, not even through the use of antibiotics. And so we're developing strategies to try and turn that around, to use a more biologically friendly way of preventing the selection of these dangerous bugs. In fact, by using good bugs.
Wonderful. The good bugs kill the bad bugs, right?
Right. It's competition. We literally introduce these good bugs onto surfaces, and when they are alive, they can actively kill off or outcompete the bad bugs. It's biological ecology on surfaces. Of course, convincing somebody in a hospital that we should add bacteria back into the environment can be quite difficult.
Well, you're a very persuasive fellow. Good luck with that. It makes perfect sense to me. Well, you also, I found fascinating, focus on microbiomes in the ocean. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we've been exploring. I'm actually probably the world's first pediatric oceanographer. I'm jointly appointed between the Department of Pediatrics and the Department of Oceanography. So, yeah, my studies are involved in microbes in every environment. What we found that's quite interesting in work with Professor Kim Prather here at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography is that microbes in the ocean can be released into the environment, into the atmosphere from sea spray, from crashing waves. I mean, we can actually inhale those, and they may actually be playing a role in training our immune systems in both positive and negative ways. So think about that next time you go down to the seaside. The sea air may contain things which can affect your health.
Well, that's wonderful. So now you just gave us a reason to go hang out at the beach.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take one more break and be right back with Dr. Jack Gilbert. Stay tuned.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Watch On the Home Front today at 2:30. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Unfortunately, we are just about out of time. Once again, the book is called Dirt is Good: The Advantage of Germs for Your Child's Developing Immune System by Dr. Jack Gilbert. Dr. Gilbert, where can people get the book? And also, how can they learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, so you can buy the book on any reputable website or in bookstores when they're open again. And from our, we publish our work in many different venues. You can find a lot about us on YouTube, but also through the University of California, San Diego websites, where a lot of our very talented scientists publish work and talk about the studies they do.
So you often do a lot of traveling, but during the pandemic, you've been staying home like we all have been. How has that been for you?
For me, it's been wonderful. I must admit, I absolutely love the fact I can spend more time with my family, with my 2 boys, with my dogs, and can go walking in San Diego. That's obviously possible all year round. If I could be stuck anywhere, this is the place I would choose to be stuck.
Absolutely. San Diego is one of the most beautiful cities in America. Can I just ask you another personal question? You were talking about these different cleansers. What cleansers do you recommend? I'm not doing any commercials here for any particular brands, but for people who aren't sure what to buy when they go to the grocery store, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, multiple things. I generally try and use something that's biodegradable, just so that when it's washed down the sink, it isn't damaging the animals in the ocean or in the lakes and rivers. But yeah, so we generally use a gentle cleaning product. The Beyond Earth products are quite good. Various other ones, EcoZone. But however, it's kind of irrelevant what product you're using. You literally could just use dishwashing soap and warm water for virtually everything in your home if you so desired. And for body cleansing, just normal soap, unless it's too drying. In that case, you can get a moisturizing soap. But the products that we had back in the 19th century and the early 20th century that were effective in controlling disease are still available.
Yeah, they're great, and they're actually oftentimes pretty cheap as well.
Extremely cheap, and you don't need you don't need a lot of money to stay healthy and clean.
I love that. Let's end on that note. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope we can take what we've learned here and apply it to our lives, especially those raising children. Dr. Jack Gilbert, we appreciate your time. Great to see you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Laurie.
And that'll do it for this edition of Healthy Living. I'm Laurie Johnson. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you again next time.